Welcome to my Accent is No Accident podcast. I am your host, Maritza Perez. We are here today with a mentor and career coach who's been helping professionals step into their inner power to succeed in their careers. She is Marianna Kinnee. She is the founder of Mighty Motion LLC. Mariana mentors corporate American managers who need help navigating their personal and professional goals to manifest them into this deserved career and life path. She spent over 2 decades as a leader at a at a Fortune. She spent over decades as a leader at a Fortune 50 company. Mariana has been married for 10 years and has 2 daughters. Her passion is helping others build legacies, and she hosts the Might in Motion podcast and recently published her first book, Might in Motion: Motivation, Momentum, Mindfulness, Might. Welcome, Mariana. It is an honor to have you on my podcast today.
Maritza, I am so excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this for a very long time.
Yes, we've been talking about it for quite a while. And Mariana, the very first question that I ask all my guests, what is your accent and why is not an accident?
I love this question. I am a daughter of an immigrant and a true American melting pot. So I've got both sides in my history. My father came to the United States on a boat when he was 10 from Italy, and then grew up in New York. My mother, on the other hand, was born in a really small Georgia town from a long history of Americans dating all the way back, as far back as you can really go, which is insane. And so it's just interesting to me that these two people from opposite sides of the world met, fell in love, had 2 kids, the whole American dream, right? So that's no accident, right? There's some reason bigger than all of us on how these two individuals ended up together. And I'm so grateful for all the lessons that they taught me, right? So being able to learn from my father on what it truly means to live the American dream and to create something bigger than yourself, bigger than what you could have created where he came from. And then from my mom, all about having this legacy, this history of, how can you give back to your communities? How can you help others that, even if you're coming from a small Georgia town, the lessons I was able to learn from her and her parents stick with me today. So I don't think there's any accident. And some people might say, well, you don't have an accent. I military town. I was not a military brat. I was just a brat. So, I didn't end up with a huge Southern draw unless I'm home or with some of that side of the family. But it still resonates with me, and that culture of family and the importance of family. We're recording this Thanksgiving week. Just has me really reflecting on how grateful I am to be where I am and grateful to have the family history that I have.
That is beautiful. So I love the way you introduce, how you come from two ends, the beautiful acknowledgement of having the opportunity to know what the true American dream is, which I think throughout generations we have lost a little bit of the sense. But we have to remember what the true meaning of the American dream is. And through your father and mother, you are living it, and I love it. Serving the community is something that is incredible and very important to all of us. And that's what one of the pieces of diversity, inclusiveness, and equity comes in. And I am very glad you mentioned it because it starts at home. If our parents don't teach us this, if we don't see at home, we don't get the opportunity to work on and to grow it in our hearts. Tell me a little bit about your book, Mighty Motion. The Tell me how the idea started and when and how it happened.
That's awesome. I have a copy right here. So I came prepared, but as you can tell, it's not a huge book, and that was on purpose. So I wanted to create something that's a little bit more of a workbook where every chapter is very short, but there are notes and there is a call to action that says, okay, when I read this section, what is my call to action today or for the next 4 weeks, where I go focus on something around motivation. How do I stay motivated what my end goal is? Or how do I stay focused on something that I want to do for my overall health and well-being, which is all around might. So each one of these different pillars is important. Think of it as the legs of a chair. And so you've got 4 equal legs. You're stable. You've got a seat at the table. Everybody wants a seat at the table, right? But if one of those legs starts getting cut short, you might have a seat, but it's not as secure. And then as you start knocking off the other ones, next thing you know, you don't really have a seat at all. And so that's why I like to look at what's your motivation, what's your ultimate why. For me, it's about helping people drive to their legacy, whatever that may be. How do you maintain momentum towards that why? So sometimes we just get frustrated and we don't feel like we're moving forward. We're not moving forward at the pace we want. Well, that may not be the pace that you need to be moving towards. And so being able to stay motivated even in the face of adversity is important. Your mindfulness. So for me, that's faith. But for others, it just might be, how do I stay in the right mindset? How do I stay positive? How do I stay in a space where I'm not just constantly bombarded by negativity? And then the might is that physical piece. So for me, I went on a really long physical journey on losing a whole bunch of weight, getting my physical in check so that I could actually have a legacy. And that to me was, I remember going on a hike with my girls and I couldn't keep up. I was like, this is not good because they were only, I think, 2 and 4 at the time. I should be able to keep up, right? So it was a big aha moment on if I want to have that long lasting legacy with my kids, I need to do something and it starts with me. So what motivated me to actually write the book was, I had all these thoughts. I'd read a whole bunch of different great books on your mental and your physical and all that. And I really just wanted to put it into a very easy, digestible format that anybody could pick up. So if you're having a week where you're just like, I need to really focus on my mindfulness, so that section, read a chapter, move on, and you have your call to action for that particular week or set weeks ahead of you, which is what I like about it.
Awesome. So that gives the motivation moment of mindfulness mind. So when you are going through these the writing of the book, and I want to talk a little bit about it so that we can tell our audience who is planning to write a book, anyone can write a book, but you have around you your own story. So in your case, yours is how you went through your own challenges, and then you became more mindful and motivated to go through them. When was the break point when you said, I really want to put these down in writing?
Yeah, so I actually had started with a newsletter. And so I had written this very quick weekly email that would go out to folks, and I'd put all these thoughts out there. And then I said, wow, I have all this stuff written. How do I combine it? How do I take these call to actions, put it in a more concise manner so that it's not like, oh, are you on my email distribution? And then you get it, right? And at the time, 4 people on my email distribution, right? So it was really about how do I get this to a broader audience? And then there was this challenge aspect, because I talked to people that I had known, multiple people that have written books, and they're like, oh, it takes years, and oh, you got to invest like tons and tons of money. And in the back of my mind, I go, challenge accepted. I'm going to do this myself. I have really great friends that helped me do editing and gave me some very honest feedback on content and things like that, so that I was able to do it in, I think it was 8 months, from soup to nuts, meaning like starting to put it into a Word document all the way through editing process, printing until I had a hard copy in my hand. So once again, it was one of those folks where you tell me you can't do it, or if you tell me it's going to take a really long time, that was, for me, was a call to action that said,
Yeah.
no, if you're really going to truly live a life of might and motion, go do it.
Amazing. So for everyone who's listening and watching, we will put the link to her book in the comments. And moving forward with these, you also open a business helping career professionals, executives change their careers, help them unblock, and is Might in Motion, the name of your company. Please tell me about it.
Right. So I have found over my career, and it's a really long career, over 23 years in corporate America, many times people get promoted to a manager position and they know how to do the job. They know how to be that super individual contributor, but nobody really helps them with, how do I navigate that transition to now I'm managing people? And there's a whole other aspect in life when now you're managing people. And then there's that next step of becoming a manager of a manager. So you have even more complication. And so for me, I wanted to create an avenue, a resource for individuals where if they find themselves that they're making that transition in their career, and maybe they're struggling and they don't feel like they necessarily have the right feedback loop within their corporate organization, reach out to me. I love to do one-on-one mentorship and help people work through those transitions, because there's an aspect of how do you become a servant leader? How do you become someone who can create teams that match a culture that you're looking for? And that requires having good people that you can bounce ideas off of. You would say, hey, this is my area of I'm struggling here. How would you navigate it? What could I do differently in the future? And then be able to take action on that.
I saw in your website that there are different programs where you can help people. And these programs can be one-on-one, a mastermind. You start by defining who you are, right?
Correct. And just really getting into why do you want to do what you want to do? Right? So people might come and say, hey, I want to get a promotion. Why? Why do you really want the promotion? Is it money? Is it title? Is it prestige? Is it a desire to want to help more people? Like, what's the root reason? Sometimes when you go through that, you might find, you know what I thought I wanted was a promotion. No, what I really want is something that fulfills me in a different way. Okay, what does that mean? Right? Does that mean, are you in the right career path? Do you have opportunities within your own team to help develop others? Right? Is there work left to be done to create that environment of really everybody lifting everybody else up? And so that's what I like to get to the real nuts and bolts to. And then in January, I'll be launching it's almost like it's a workshop really. And it's all around how do you create that company culture that you want, or that team culture, right? So there are small companies out there that, they've got maybe 10 to 20 employees, and they're still trying to figure out, how do I hire the right person to fit my company culture? All the way to, I've got a team now of 10 to 20 people, and I want to maintain a positive culture within my team. And so that's going to be launching in January, which I'm really excited about. Because then you can bring people together. It could bring your whole team together. It could be your leadership team together to really dive into what are those ABCs of building the right kind of culture.
That is amazing. That gives me the open door to ask you, about diversity, how important it is that it is for a leader to be diverse and inclusive in their team and building their team.
So I've had the privilege of working for so many great leaders throughout my career. It all started for me at a very young age. So in college, I did a ton of internships and co-ops and that sort of thing. And there were a few things that really resonated with me then that I've maintained all the way through where I am today. One is everybody has value to add to a team. So I have distinct memories of working at a paper mill, and I was with all these engineers at the time. I was a chemical engineering major. I did not graduate as a chemical engineer, but I was working at a paper mill, and all these chemical and mechanical engineers around me, they would have these ideas and they wanted to make changes. One did for every single one of those initiatives is there's this one gentleman that would bring off the plant floor. I don't even know if he had a high school degree. I really don't, but he knew that plant so well that he could look at what they were trying to do and he could point out what the pitfalls might be or what was going to work really, really well. So when you're thinking about a paper mill, it's a lot of chemicals. It's highly explosive. It's a dirty environment. It's smelly, right? We've all driven by paper mills. It smells gross, right? But this guy really knew his stuff. And so to have these people that had not only their undergrad, but graduate degrees, sometimes PhDs, listen to this one guy. I was like, wow, that's bringing diversity into that room. Mm-hmm. That's saying, hey, there are other thoughts and there's other opinions. So you should listen to them, right? So that was one that was really, really early in my career. And then as I moved forward in my career, for me, it was around how do I make sure I'm balancing the team, right? Like it could be an education level. It could be your religious background. It could be your sexual orientation. It could be all these things, right? Yes. And for me, the most important was how am I diversifying the thought? Because everybody's coming to the table with a different way of thinking. And if I bring everybody that looks like me, if everybody went to Georgia Tech, if everybody got an engineering degree, if everybody's been, taken this path, then it's just a bunch of me's.
Hi, I'm very happy to know you are here watching our podcast today. It is an honor to be featuring so many entrepreneurs on the journeys of their inside voice, their accent that is not an accident. And we want to reach out more people like you who are creating a better world of diversity, inclusiveness, equity, and belonging. So please take a moment to hit the subscribe button below, like, and share to others. And even if you want to leave a comment, that'll be nice. Thank you for your support. And now back to the episode.
We're not going to have any new thought. We're not going to have any creativity. We're not going to be able to drive any kind of real change. So for me, that was the most important, to be able to make sure I've got a well-rounded organization. And as openings happen, give people a chance to be heard. That's also, I think, really important when you're in a room. Right? It may not be the hiring piece, but if you're in a room and there's someone who's not speaking, you need to reach out to them. You need to understand why and how you can help them find a voice. So like I remember there were meetings where if there was a seat empty next to me and there was somebody sitting behind me, no, you come sit next to me here at the table. You need to come be right here. And even if you don't have, like, you're maybe an intern, you may be an entry-level analyst, you may be a manager, and this is a room of directors and VPs, you still have a seat at the table, right? So you can start being seen and then heard, right? So sometimes we forget that piece of you actually have to have a seat at the table. So bringing people along, helping people to be able to find that voice is really, really important. And I talk about that a lot when I do one-on-one, when I do annual reviews, is how are you presenting yourself? So you're putting your best face forward, your message is getting heard, and that you have that opportunity. Because everybody should have that opportunity.
Yes. And I love that because it is you're talking about the inclusivity, including everybody at the table, but also acknowledging that not everybody might be able to speak up, not because they don't know, but because they just haven't found their voice, or they haven't found courage to talk in front of everybody. And that is very important in a leader. A leader needs to be kind of like a pusher, and also somebody that brings the best of you out. Yep. So
Totally agree.
one of the things that I love on career coaches and mentors is the fact that you see the person and combine it with the company and the culture. How does one person bring the company culture?
Bring them up, like actually like help people figure it out,
Yes.
or
Yes.
yeah. So, company culture should not just be something that's painted on a wall, right? And we've all seen those organizations where it's literally all it is. It's just words. Nobody lives by it, right? For me, it's really, really important that if you believe in those values, that you as an individual need to live them, right? And then you need to reward others for living those values. So that could be positive call outs. That could be recognition with awards. It could be financial. It depends on what that person's motivation is, because some people are money, some people are words of affirmation, all those things, right? So you have to be able to approach people in different ways. And when they see you living your values and acknowledging the values that other people are living, that's really important. One thing to note is sometimes when you're a manager, you inherit a team. That team may be a toxic culture. You didn't hire everybody in that team, right? You just got promoted to that position. It may take you 6 months, 8 months to have that toxicity, because they are going to test you, right? So they may know, well, my old boss, if I didn't do exactly what they said the first time, if I didn't do, hey, they said jump, I don't ask how high or exactly how they want me to do it, well, then I'm going to get in trouble. If you're going to create a culture where you want innovation, you want independent thinkers, you don't want to be the one doing everything. You want your team to be an army of people doing what needs to be done because they know the guardrails, right? You have to give them the opportunity to do that. And then when they test you, meaning like, I wonder if she's going to fold this time. It's that one time you don't fold that they go, aha, I am enabled to make a decision. I am enabled to have a say in how we get to where we want to go, right? Because everybody has metrics. We all have metrics, right? It's cost out, it's efficiency, it's sales, it's whatever. We should all know our metrics. But if you've created a culture where people can't go make independent decisions within those guardrails, that's toxicity. That's what you have to get rid of. And so for me, that's all about how do you remain consistent as a leader so that they know that, you know what, I can trust them. I can trust you as a leader. If I've got a problem, I can come to you. You can help me resolve it. If I've got a personal problem, it's a safe place for me to be like, hey, I got this going on at home, right? I may not be coming with my full self because I've got spouse issues, kid issues, pet issues, whatever the case may be, right? When you can create a space where people trust you and then the team trusts each other, it's magical. It's legit magical, because then if somebody has to take time off to take care of what they need to, they know that the team is stepping up for them. You've created a culture that does that. When they come back, they become your ride or die people, because they're like, oh, you know what? When my dad had cancer, when my son had a car accident, when my dog, these people stepped in, allowed me to do what I needed to do so I could come back bigger, better, stronger. And now I'm going to provide even more of a support. It's really, really cool. Because I think of teams, some people say, oh, we're a family at this company. No, ain't nobody a family at a company, right? If it is, it's a messed up family, right? You're creating community. And what happens in a community, right? Everybody has to do their part in a community. Don't throw your trash out the window, right? Like all the things, right? If you want to create a beautiful community, everybody has a part to play. And I think that's what's really, really special when you can create that environment, you can remove tea from a team. Next thing you know, your numbers go up, your morale goes up, people want to stay on your team, right? Like, hey, there's other opportunities. I can make more money down the street, or I could go to this other, but I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave this group because I'm winning. That's really, really cool, especially for new managers. It's a hard thing to learn, but if you're willing to put in the work and start trusting people, it's a game changer.
Yes, and I love that that has been changing in corporate lately, with diversity, equity, and inclusion is starting to be a department at big corporations. Um, I believe in my heart that diversity, equity, and inclusion is the new HR department. And it's enhanced and combine those two departments, del- can delegate to their leaders the right ways to what you just said, build a culture that stays, a culture that drives through the company and allows people to say, I want to stay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the key too is to make sure that any of the DE&I type of initiatives that we don't create walls, right? We have to create bridges, right? Some companies, they create walls, right? And then you're not moving forward. But when you can create an environment of bridges where it's like, hey, now I can better understand you. You can better understand me. We all elevate together. We're going to be able to cross whatever this issue that we're trying to cross, this challenge we're trying to cross. We now have a bridge to get there. That I think is the key, is that when you bring people together, it's creating that opportunity to say, I appreciate where you're coming from. Your different views. Now let's work together to get where we want to go.
And I love what you just said. Bridges again, not walls, because I believe we came from the old culture of we're trying to come out of this old culture of no, we don't talk about religion, we don't talk about sexual orientation, we don't talk about politics, we don't talk about this X, Y, and there is a long list of don'ts.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, why? If I am a Muslim, why cannot talk about? I mean, look at me, I am Muslim. Look at me, I am Christian. Why cannot? And I'm saying about preaching, but
Right.
it's okay if you want to have a cross on your desk.
Right.
It doesn't affect really anything.
Right.
And that's one of the things that just acknowledge and be okay with it and move on. Keep on walking, go to your cubicle, go to your office. It is fine. But believing and understanding others, it's a total different idea that we are stepping into. And it's not about tolerance, it's more about acknowledging
Mm-hmm.
and stepping into your power and understanding, oh, I know where you're coming from now.
That's exactly right. Because that's, everybody wants to feel acknowledged and heard and celebrated, right? So, and that
Exactly.
should be everyone, not at a detriment of one to the other. It's how do we acknowledge the contribution that everybody brings to the table?
Exactly. And I love this conversation. I love all the things that you have said, but we're almost heading to the end, and I don't want to leave without giving you the opportunity to tell our audience how they can contact you and where they can find you.
So everything is at mightinmotion.com. So there's links to all the socials. You can get on the email distribution list. I'm really, really involved on LinkedIn. So follow me on LinkedIn. That's where I post most of my content. I do have Instagram, but LinkedIn is probably the best way. Once again, if you go to mightinmotion.com, there's a link there straight to my profile for you to follow. yeah, and there's a link to the book there. Everything is there. So that's probably the best way to reach me, and all new kind of initiatives, things like that will all be posted on that website as well.
Amazing. And then the last question that I have is, you also have a podcast where you are interviewing top executives, CEOs, and corporate C-suite level executives. So please tell me about it. Talk about this to our audience, and then maybe somebody wants to be your guest.
Yeah, that'd be great. So you'll see a theme here. It's the Might in Motion podcast. So every theme across all the platforms. But it's been really fun to do. The episodes come out usually every Friday, and the guests are anywhere, to your point, of founders and CEOs, entrepreneurs, doctors, all sorts of individuals, because I want to talk about those 4 pillars, right? So it can be a wellness coach. It could be like one of my guests this season was a death doula, right? And you're like, what does death have to do with your career? Well, guess what? Everybody dies. So it's good to understand, like, hey, what are these people should do to prepare, right? Their families, themselves. And if you have somebody on your team that has experienced death in their family, it gives you a different understanding, right? So that once again, you're creating relationships with your team. So variety of guests, which has been really phenomenal and fun to do. And yeah, it's Might in Motion. You can find it on all the big podcasting sites. So Spotify, Apple, Google, all those things. Please like, comment, follow, and enjoy. And if you are somebody that you're like, man, this message resonates with me. I'm a leader within corporate culture, and I want to be able to share my thoughts. Please reach out to me directly. Once again, you can reach out via the website, mightinmotion.com. There's a link. Feel free to reach out. I love hearing from listeners, and I love recommendations on guests.
Amazing. Is there any thought that you would like to leave our audience with?
Well, like I mentioned, I think at the beginning, this is Thanksgiving week that we're recording it. I don't know when this podcast is going to drop, but no matter when it drops, find time during your day to be grateful for something. Whatever that is. That could literally be that you got out of bed, right? It could be that you had a meeting that you were not so sure about, but you went in with gratitude, and guess what? It went better than expected. You need to speak those words of gratitude out loud or write them down in a journal. So when you start living a life full of gratitude, more things come your way that allow you to be even more grateful. So take time this week, wherever you are, to write down what you're grateful for.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Mariana. This interview has been amazing. I loved having you here. And to our audience, remember, you came to this world because the greatest God brought you because of He loved you. To be loved and love one another. Until next time, bye.
Thank you.
Hi, it's Maritza here. If you like this episode of My Accent is No Accident podcast and would like to listen more like this, subscribe wherever you're listening to it or watching it. Leave us a nice review and share with your friends, family, and network. Thanks for listening.